Thank you, Jack. Good morning. When the NASBA leadership asked me to get involved with diversity, I had no idea that there was so much information and activity that was out about the subject. What I'd like to do in my brief moments this morning is talk about 4 areas. What's going on in corporate America, what's going on in higher education, what's going on at the AICPA, and then what's going on with the state boards of accountancy and NASBA. Two days ago, there was an article in USA Today, and the article dealt with diversity in the corporate world with Google. The title of the article was, "Have you Googled diversity at Google?" And what it said was there was no easy fix in the technology industry, and it was an ongoing and well-documented struggle that they were having with diversity. But understanding why the problem exists at an institutional level is an important thing, as things are going to change. For the first time, Google published diversity numbers internally, from their internal operations. Further on in the article, it also stated that while technology true, Google is mostly white, this is a remarkably misleading way of putting their numbers. In reality, whites are underrepresented at Google. According to the Census Bureau, 63% of the population is white. At Google, 61% of their employees are white. So it's not a problem that they have with overrepresentation. The problem is that the Asian population that are at Google are 6 times more than the population in general at Google. So Google has a different kind of a problem that, again, they're going to resolve. Let's look at education. Why boards must become diversity stewards. This article was taken from the Association of Governing Boards Conference on Trustees, which they tackled the key issues of higher education, diversity, and inclusiveness, and offer suggestions for how boards can be effective stewards of diversity on their college campuses. And I know we have educators in our room, and I'm sure that they're aware of some of the issues and some of the problems that exist on our college campuses. Now let's look at the AICPA. American Institute of CPA's president and CEO, Barry Mellison, discussed the need for greater diversity at CPA firms as efforts at greater inclusion seem to be running into a headstream. In a speech at the AICPA Spring Council, Mellison talked about the slowly changing demographics of the accounting profession, in part because of competition and from other professions. There are huge challenges that are playing out in the war for talent, he said, and I quote, "We're in a competitive landscape against other professions." Mellison also noted that the AICPA needs to find new ways to motivate future generations and develop skills. And again, we know that plays out in the human capital element as it relates to culture, the workload, and the environment that they find themselves in. He indicated that we are very concerned about the turnover rate in the profession today. When we talk about turnover, we've always had turnover in our profession. Well, what are we going to do about it? it's been a pretty common issue, especially in the larger firms. He noted we are seeing some demographic challenges also. He pointed out during the past 25 years, women coming into the profession we've seen a net result in an increase in women coming into the profession. For the past 2 years, that has changed. We've seen a decrease of women coming into our profession. He also noted that he has a concern about the number of individuals taking the CPA exam. Even though the numbers are increasing, the AICPA is still very concerned about that issue. What is the AICPA doing about these issues? Well, they have 2 initiatives that they've started. Number 1, the AICPA's Diversity Commission will be releasing shortly an accounting inclusion maturity model. This will be a framework that the top 500 firms can use to evaluate how well they are doing from an inclusion perspective and benchmark themselves against their peers. Second, the AICPA has lobbied Congress to allow more immigration of accountants in the U.S. by allowing accountants to qualify for the mathematics category under the proposed expansion of the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics areas of the H-1B visa program for skilled foreign workers. While that was successful in the version of the legislation that passed the Senate, that legislation has been stalled in the House. Now let's look at the state boards of accountancy and at NASBA. As Jack mentioned, I was very intrigued with Ken Bishop's memo, Photos on the Wall, that he published in September of 2012. And I know we have a lot of new members here, and if you can just bear with me, because I think it's very important that you understand exactly what that Photos on the Wall was all about. Ken stated, and I quote, "Outside of my office in Nashville is a wall of photos of the chairs of NASBA who have served over the past 17 years since NASBA has been headquartered in Nashville. I walk by those photos several times every day and often stop to look at the faces of those fine leaders, most of whom I have had a chance to know very well during my tenure, both as a NASBA volunteer and as an employee. And I usually point out the wall of chair photos when I show visitors and guests around our facility. On several occasions, someone will mention the lack of diversity. Not surprising. In fact, in the past 17 years, 15 of our chairs have been men, white men. He further states that he wants to be clear that he would not want to dissuade anyone from seeking the chair position, nor am I being critical of any of the men on the wall or volunteers who selected them. Each new chair was or continues to be a dynamic leader who brought new ideas and enhancements to NASBA. However, as president and CEO, he presented us with a call to action when he wrote another article, "What I am challenging us all to consider is the future of NASBA, which has somehow failed to encourage women and minorities to aspire, to seek, and hold NASBA's highest office." Under the leadership of former Chair Mark Harris, a diversity task force was established in 2013 to review and look at the issues facing NASBA. They came up with 7 recommendations. And I think, again, these are very important for the NASBA family. Number 1, why should we focus on diversity? Number 2, the importance of inclusiveness. Number 3, an ongoing effort. This is not a one and done effort. Number 4, setting realistic goals. Number 5, growing the pie, creating more opportunities for NASBA's volunteers. Number 6, clarity about time and travel requirements for volunteers. And I know that's a big concern of our volunteers. How much time are we going to spend? How much time are we going to be away from the office? What do I need to do? And then, number 7, developing the volunteer pipeline. The task force came up with 12 recommendations from their meeting. In 2014, current President Carlos Johnson appointed a continuing task force, which I am the chair, as was mentioned and so forth. Our task force has been charged with taking the recommendations from the initial committee, initial task force, and developing issues and ways that we can improve the diversity in NASBA and the boards of accountancy. It is going to take us, the NASBA family, to implement the goals and strategies recommended by the task force. We'd like to share more information with you at the breakout sessions. Please come by. Thank you.